Okay, good morning, everyone. Oh, I must stand here for the microphone and shout a little less. Am I audible in the end of the room? Yeah? Okay, I'm Klaas Dijkstra. My presentation's title is Sound, Camera, Action. So let's say action.
This is 327. I'm going in.
Good luck, Agent.
Hello. I was just admiring the art.
Haircut?
Please. Such a lovely place you've got here. Is it usually this empty? Just a trim, please. For Agent Kratos.
Again, good morning, everyone. I'm Klaas Dijkstra. I'm a traffic engineer turned into GIS analyst. Since a year or so, I'm a freelance GIS data developer at this address. And what you've just seen is made with Blender 3D. And it is, and at the moment I'm working as a consultant for Telenet, which is a Belgian telecom company, for providing the big four, the foreplay, let's say, on providing access to internet, phone, and television. And I actually make maps for them, a routing map containing each street in Belgium, or in Flanders, that is. Depicting the route you have to take to go to the nearest entry point onto their fiber network, because that's their core business. Everything should be fiber in the end, but all the streets are now coax. So, but they want to have everything actually dotted red in their working area. Yeah. As said, this little clip was presented, it was a clip of a teaser which is presented or published only last week. It's a three-minute teaser for an upcoming feature film, and it's made entirely in Blender, made by the Blender Institute residing in Amsterdam. And this is, one of the screenshots you can see using Blender, and what the positive things of Blender are certain, at least the things I find interesting is that it's open source. You can download it from the internet. It's cross-platform. It's Windows, Mac, and Linux as well. You have a huge community. Doing stuff, asking or responding to your questions, and well, one of the technical advantages is that it has a Python API, so you can really plug into to each element of Blender. Well, some current uses. You can make 2D stills. This is a little, well, cartoony as in the movie you just saw. But you also have 3D stills, which are more photorealistic. This is not a photograph. This is completely rendered in Blender. And there are visualizations of architecture, very, very realistic. It's unbelievable. You can do visual effects with them. Maybe some people recognize this picture from The Man in the High Castle. I don't have Netflix or whatever. It's totally generated in Blender. So it doesn't exist. It's only in the computer, let's say. So that's a big part because the Blender Institute is really making open movies. So they are really focusing on 3D entertainment content, let's say. But nothing withholds you using it in a different way, as I do, or as I want to do more and more, namely in the field of engineering. Other uses is that Blender has a Blender game engine, where you can really make an interactive game. It's used in VR, AR applications. You can use Blender, the topology functionalities of Blender in 3D printing. And there are a lot of add-ons for Blender, and they are either for free or they are paid. And the thing you see here is trees generated with an add-on made by a friend of mine. It's called the Grove 3D, and he studied everything possible on trees. He knows everything about trees, and he has incorporated that into an add-on in Blender. These are general or generic uses. I'll show you 5 examples of geospatial uses. So, the thing is that you could add Blender onto your workflow, because FME is not that good in visualization, and Blender is. So they could be a good couple, let's say, making really astonishing visualization, either in stills or in animations or interaction. But the main thing is that with Blender you can make amazing, stories, let's say, story maps from your data. First example, these are all examples from other people. I'm still getting, in the process of getting my own portfolio. But here are 5 other persons' examples. First example is a treasure map. In this case, it's a map. We've seen that a long time already, so it's still it's perfectly for books, for print. But now we are going into a web-based situation. It would be nice to add certain things, which is possible with FME. You could add perspective, you could add lighting, cameras, other objects. You could attach a path to the camera, so you will have a nice view of or an enhancement for your map. And well, this is taken from a tutorial, and actually the result is the following. So, oh, sorry, okay. I cannot pause it. Ah, it's a GIF, yeah, okay. So it really enhances the map, which is kind of, well, sitting there. But, well, when you're in the capability of showing that either on a screen or, well, in the web or in an animation, it's a real good tool to, well, to add your, or to enhance your data with. And this one is from a tutorial by David McSween. Second example is, again, an add-on, and it's called Blender GIS. And it actually is capable of adding vector and raster data from the outside. So it's not really related to FME in that sense, because you can grab any data. Well, vector, you must read shapefiles in this sense, and raster being TIFFs or GeoTIFFs. But vector is also OpenStreetMap. I forgot, because the next slide is a screen cap of possibilities within Blender. Again, an add-on. You have buttons there pulling up OpenStreetMap or, well, satellite imagery, where you can select certain areas and extract data from it, OpenStreetMap data from it, and work with that, maybe polishing it up, or and also adding cameras to it. Three, point clouds. That's an emerging, well, format, let's say. Also, Blender is kind of enabled to show them. Points do not really render in Blender, but you can, well, do certain tricks, again, in a pipeline, either a Python script or manually, well, to show the point clouds. Add again this camera, this flyover of it, making it more insightful for the users, for your public. Okay. Then a fourth example is, this is somewhere in Belgium. It's called Eename. It's an old abbey from a very long time ago. This is a visitor center near the site of the abbey. You only see the fundaments going there on the left through the window, and there's a guy named Daniel Platings from Visual Dimensions, who created a walkthrough through the abbey in a certain moment. They have 5 time slots, let's say, in which they want to create these interactive, with the Kinects, an interactive walkthrough. And again, you can pick up things which are there, turn them around, because there are real relics, let's say, of that site which you cannot touch, but they are really modeled in Blender. And actually, the environment you see is not Blender; it's Unity. But all the assets are made in Blender, and together with the Kinect, you can really walk through it and do interaction with that environment. Okay. Example 5, and that's I think the most eminent or prominent example, which is Blend for Web. It's also, you could call it an add-on. It's made by a Moscow-based company, which, well, has a a professional and a community edition. So the community edition is completely free, and actually the professional is quite the same, but you have more support and some more documentation on it. But the community edition is really okay to use. And I'll have to swap over to the internet, which I haven't tested yet, so let's see. Yeah, and again, as I wrote down here, there's no plugin needed because your Blender scenes will go through Blend for Web, and they are a WebGL-based HTML page or whatever, which you can show nearly everywhere. So not every browser, especially the older ones, are not WebGL capable, but the most modern ones are. Okay, let's go here. This is the website, and they have quite some good examples here of what is possible with your geodata. And but you can also make your own environments, like in the agent movie I showed in the beginning, where you can model your own world, let's say. Okay, made with. It's 10, right? 10 minutes. Yeah. I'll keep that for last thing. Maybe Sam, you can turn up later when I give the signal. Yeah. But not just now. So this is an example. It takes a while. It's a huge thing, so it takes a while to really load. Again, no plugin needed. It's simply Chrome as is, and all the assets are used in the WebGL is used to make this possible. WebGL is more like the 3D HTML version, let's say. Okay, then go to the overview. So here again with Blend for Web, you can you can make animations, transitions, annotations. It's really and you can highlight certain areas if you want. It's either you prepare that in FME, or you have some script adding that functionality into your scene, which you have derived from your data. Again, highlighting, and let me click here. You have a pop-up stating your attributes or whatever information you have. So you can put that in. You see an animation here. It's all possible with Blend for Web. I don't get commission, by the way. Another, and maybe because we are already more or less on time and we have some we need some time for questions and answers. I'll go to, as extension to Chris Hadfield's talk. The NASA also made an application with Blend for Web with the rover on Mars. Yeah. Although there isn't any sound on Mars, I believe. Okay, so you can have a complete control within your web browser on your environment. Again, you have annotations, depicting information on certain areas of the of your environment, Mars. In this case, you have key key navigation. You see what the camera sees from the rover, and again, well, I believe it's 6 times the real speed of the Mars rover. But again, it's completely, well, you can completely well, animate certain elements. If you have static data, it's really possible also to add assets to it. Maybe you have your GIS project is about a neighborhood. You could add crowds to that scene, so a 3D scene and people walking down the street. It's all possible in Blender together with Blend for Web. So, this is one of the outstanding applications, let's say, and just a moment. Yeah, so that's basically my talk. So my aim was to introduce you a little to Blender and its possibilities. There's another talk on Blender. That's you, right? Owen. I haven't seen him yet, but we spoke over the keyboard, let's say, in the last few weeks. He will show you more about the possibilities of Blender and more the 2D, 3D stills, where you could make nice pictures, not a push of a button and you have a batch of images, let's say, but really nice looking artistic maps. So let me say, but again, Blender is, in my eyes, Blender is made for storytelling. So yeah, that's my main point. Use Blender for telling stories and make your maps more vivid. Thank you. Any questions, Martin?
Do you have, could you guide us a little bit how to get your data into Blender?
Well, the question is how to get data into Blender. Blender is not an ETL, but you have some possibilities. Yeah, sorry?
I got an ETL.
Yeah, you have, but you also need some import capabilities of Blender. Normally, well, the real artists start with nothing, let's say, and one of the, I've shown it in one of the slides. Blender starts with a default cube, and well, there's a big row about should we show the default cube at startup or not. But you can start with the default cube and model it like that, but that's manual work. What we would like as data people, using data which is already outside in your Blender in your FME workflow, and there are basically 5 formats which Blender can read. It's OBJ, it's SVG, Collada. Well, OBJ is one of the raster, that is, and again with the add-ons I've shown, it's also possible to read shapefiles, and even I know applications where data is residing in a SQLite database, and you can pull it out. There are JSON formats which you can read with certain add-ons. So that's.
I need to exploit the format Blender needs and then try to fill it with my data set.
Correct. So.
I can tie in data 3D and it would love to put it in Blender to make a nice
Fly over, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's certainly possible. But, well, Blender is not the most easy program to start with. That is true. But if you get the grip of it, you can really make a pipeline out of it, and that's no problem. Does that answer your question? Yeah? Okay. I saw another hand somewhere.
Yeah, it was
Related. Okay.
yeah, I was wondering if it's possible to integrate this
Yeah. Well.
to render things.
Yeah. Well, actually, my personal goal is to because Blender is also an editing tool that you could edit your data in Blender and pull it back into your well, data flow in an OBJ format or whatever. But actually making your well, enhancing FME, which is really about data flow and nothing manual, more or less. But you could have utilized the editing functionality of Blender and push it back over to FME or whatever GIS package. So that's one of my goals, and maybe I have to say, well, that's really a goal of mine this year to have something done there.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Time's up?
Time's up.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, thanks very much.